daybreak here on Arise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's take a look at This Day, our sister publication this morning. Its leading headline, Malami says governors complaint over $418 million Paris Club refund is baseless, accuses them of indemnifying payment to consultants. He also says other things. Government has secured the conviction of 1,000 terrorists, declares Nigeria won't interfere with Ekweremadu's trial in the UK. Let's take a look at this leading photo on the front of This Day. Buhari meeting relatives of Kaduna train victims at the presidential villa yesterday. Just above that, still on the president, why we didn't use maximum force to free Kaduna train attack victims. If you want to know more on that, that's on page 5. And just above the nameplate of This Day, Discos. Nigeria yet to generate up to 6,000 megawatts electricity since independence.
This is the Punch newspaper. Governor Nyesom Wike sues Atiku Tambuwal, demands recognition as candidate. President Buhari's security guards killed in ambush, buried. Nigeria loses 101 billion naira worth of oil, and that's according to OPEC. And Malami and the Governors Forum on collision course over $418 million deductions.
All right, let's look at the Nation newspaper. As I said, on APC Vice Chair Northwest governors behind Tinubu, Lukman, no discordant tune in ruling party, while Lalong won't resign as campaign DG, the same resignation matter, PDP crisis, Ayu won't quit, Party ESCO tells Wike and others. Right, government won't interfere in Ekweremadu's case. No going back on 5% telecom tax, says the federal government. You remember Pantami says no, people shouldn't be taxed. Military arrest 2 swap kingpins over Owo attack. Buhari, Nigeria must get 2023 census right.
The Guardian, Nigeria this morning. Catholics knock Lalong over Pope comment and want him suspended. Meanwhile, Lalong is saying my reference to Pope was mark of reverence and not ridicule. And just below that, on Song Road to Birmingham, hard-won victory. More on that story on pages 4 and 5. And below that, absence of vaccine heightens fear of monkeypox.
The international papers. This is the Financial Times. It says Bank of England warns Truss and Sunak not to interfere with city regulation.
And in Daily Express, on the front page of Daily Express. All right, let's go to the Times. All right, Sunak plan to cancel out energy price rises.
And for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our offsite studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look at This Day and what the AGF is saying. Malami says the governor's complaint over the $418 million public Paris Club refund is baseless. He's accusing them of indemnifying payments to consultants. He's also saying other things. He says government... Emmanuel, can you hear me? Okay. I don't think Emmanuel can hear us.
Okay,
he can hear. Okay, Emmanuel, you can hear me. I was waiting for you to respond. Anyway, he says other things. He says the government has secured conviction of 1,000 terrorists. He also goes ahead to speak on that Ekweremadu case trial in the UK, saying Nigeria will not interfere. What are your thoughts?
All right. Now
we don't
we are finding it hard to hear Emmanuel. Well, until we get his voice in, we can talk about what This Day is saying. Malami talking about governor's complaint over $418 million Sperry Club refund. He says it's baseless. He's accusing them of identifying payment, indemnifying payment to consultants. He puts loots recovered from external jurisdiction in 14 months at 3.2 billion, and says government has secured conviction of 1,000 terrorists.
And he's also saying that when the Nigerian Governors Forum made a request for that refund, one of the components of that agreement was the settlement of the consultants whose services were engaged by Nigeria's 36 state governors. So now he's saying when that refund was paid to the states, the governors initially made part payment to the consultants, but then the governors later decided to stop that payment while asking for an out-of-court settlement.
Well, at this juncture, I believe it's a moral question whether to, if we had consultants who did work for the country and they need to be paid, of course you need to pay them. But now it's up to the authorities to decide if Nigeria can afford to make that payment at this juncture. If we cannot afford to make that payment at this juncture, perhaps we could wait for later. I do not know the agreements that they've had, especially what the courts have said. We can't say too much about it, can we?
All right, Emmanuel is back. Emmanuel?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, go on with, of course, the story.
The front page of this day, what Malami is saying about that Paris Club refund, he's saying the governor's contentions is baseless.
Well, good morning once again. I think generally it's the crisis that we've been following this story, and I think this week we've looked at it twice already, and now we are getting the take of the Attorney General on the matter, and he's saying that what the governors are saying is baseless, and he's saying that because they are the ones who initially entered into that kind of agreement, and they indemnify it. So coming around now to say that, well, they are not going to pay, he's just saying that, look, it's just a very simple thing. You know, you have made commitments to make payments, so you should just do that because it's just the right thing to do. It is the fair thing to do. It's the proper thing to do. Pay the people who have done some work for you. But the governors are saying that given the timing, given the crisis of states, especially as it regards to payments of their liabilities and all the things that they need to be paying for, it is wrong to just side with the contractors. So the federal government is torn between what is responsible and what is proper and what is good for business versus patriotism on one hand, concerns about the need for states to be alive to their responsibility and the rest. So that is where they are. The president have already formed a committee around this matter. The case is in court. So I think to some extent, in fact, the Malami speaking in this report said that, look, I've closed my case and I have nothing to say again about this. I think maybe that will put to rest the issue of those Paris payments.
Well, Emmanuel, this is more than 100 billion naira, probably more than 150 billion, and we have to think about what's good for Nigeria, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we have to think of what is good for Nigeria, and that's, like I say, that's the push from the governors forum. That look, why not put patriotism above every other thing? Put above business interests. Think of your citizens and not just those consultants. But then you have to look at the flip side, the fact that they went into this agreement. Maybe at the time they went into the agreement that they were going to be paying off, and that they've even started paying. So that's Malami can't understand it. That it's incredulous that a process that you have begun, you've been part of it, you've participated in it, you actually okayed it. Why should you be reneging on that? There are people who say that, look, yes, we can do that, especially if our interests, of course, the interest, survival instinct of a country is involved. You can overlook setting agreements, setting understanding, and especially what has to do with business. So it is the interplay of that, the back and forth between what agreements we've entered with consultants and the need now to use this money, especially because of the needs we are facing. So on one hand is the moral issue, on ground. Look, when somebody works for you, do you pay them? Or do you just say, okay, given the circumstances we are, even in our interpersonal life, we have those situations where, okay, yes, I have your money with me, but look, I've got other things to do. What do I do? So that is what the federal government is faced with. And then, this government wants to come across as the government that is for probity, for transparency, for doing the right thing, for doing business the right way. So they want to give up those kind of impression. But the president even seemed to be siding with those thoughts of the governors forum and saying that, okay, let's give this thing a second look to arrive and whether paying off those consultants or using the monies to do what the governors forum is asking them to do.
Well, agreement is agreement. If you enter into an agreement, you should honor your agreement. Only if you want, like the richest man in Babylon says in that book, you can break it down. But then you entered into an agreement. You owe it a responsibility to pay them what you owe them, especially if they've done your job. Well, let's look at the Nation newspaper. APC Vice Chair, Northwest governors behind Tinubu. Lukman says no discordant tune in the ruling party. And then if you just go below it, PDP crisis. You won't quit. Party ESCO tells Wike and others. I mean, this is a follow-up to Wike suing, what's his name, Atiku and Lambowal on the front page of Punch. Can you understand that?
Wike is in court asking to be declared the winner. He didn't even come second in that presidential contest, but he's in court now. Anything can go to court. That's what the conclusion I've come to personally, because this case is almost ridiculous, but it's there already and being entertained. But the party say it's not seen. I've not seen the summons or even the article camp. Wike saying that it should be declared that it was wrong for Tambuwal to have just suddenly, out of nowhere, say that he was voiding, he was relinquishing the race and then giving his votes to someone else. This case is saying that, and that in the absence of all of that, he's supposed to be declared a winner. So is Wike still not coming to terms with the fact that the primaries are over? It is said those primaries are not over. There's no closure yet. They still really, smarting from that defeat. Most people will tell you, the psychologists will tell you that that's what happened when people, suffer those kind of serious defeat. Already he was in a presidential mode. He was talking about what he would do with this country and everything. And to suddenly realize that, look, maybe all he's going to be is the governor of Rivers State, which is not bad because going by some of the things Wike has been doing recently, seem to have done very well for Rivers State, commissioning those projects and all that. But of course, he is seeing himself as a president, and every day seems to be deeming that for him, especially now that the party is saying that, look, we are backing IU, we'll stay with IU, we're not leaving IU, which is one of his requests that, look, IU must go. So we're seeing a Wike that increasingly every day seems to be dealing with the crisis of those primaries failure. And he's not come to that place of closure yet, and that's why he's in court now to say, look, declare me the winner.
Definitely, and in less than a year, he's not going to be governor anymore. He won't have any immunity. So do you see this as some sort of buying time to make a good strategy? Maybe he wants to move to another party or weigh what he can get from PDP, his current party, or another party?
Well, Nkechi, even Indy, who is the expert on Wike here, I'm sure at this point he's a bit confused about his man. I mean, what's motivating Wike? What's wrong with him? Is this defeat? Is it a need for is it for survival? What's wrong with him? His body language, his mannerism, he's upped the way he attacks. He's attacking back and forth. He's even fighting with his base. So you begin to wonder what is really wrong, what's happening to the man. And Nkechi, like you noted, is it about his future? Is he trying to wonder what's going to happen to him after office? But right now he's fighting, he's doing everything. He's engaging in what looks like party activities, inviting people from the APC, always. And then his public speaking has actually gone to another level. He talks as if he's the overlord of Rivers State. He says things like, look, nobody can take Rivers from him, he's in charge. He said those things. I mean, that's the way Wike talks. But recently, it's gone to overdrive, if you ask me. So yes, Nkechi, it's difficult to know whether this is just that defeat at work, or it is actually him trying to wonder what's going to happen to him hereafter when he's no longer the governor. What are the things that will happen to him? What are those cases against him? Are those the things that are propelling him? It's difficult to know. Is he going to move to another party? Nobody knows whether he's going to do that. But for now, he's fraternizing with opposition and talking every day, saying very harsh things, fighting with his own base. Even he's really the closest allies to him, saying that, look, they've all betrayed him and that no one can go through Rivers State unless through him. No one commits to Rivers State unless through Wike. If I'm going to paraphrase that statement from the Bible, that no one goes to the Father until through his Son. Wike is saying that, look, I run this city, I run this state. No one can come here. And if you do business with Atiku, I'm going to deal with you. That's the state of mind Wike has found himself now.
Time will tell what these decisions mean for the governor. Thank you so much.
When you talk like that in a democracy.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello.